Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Nishelle and I usually make content on travel, especially in the Europe. And this is my first podcast style episode, but I thought it would be nice to make this because I can give more details of my trip rather than just what I have seen there, and maybe this is more helpful in terms of travel tips and the minute details of what it's like to actually solo travel to a new place. So on today's episode, I'm talking about Amsterdam. This was my most recent travel and it was just spectacular. Like, no matter how hyped it is, I think it lives up to it and beyond. It's really a place to see. I have to first say about the weather because generally I find the weather in Central Europe beautiful. Like, I live in Vienna and the weather here is gorgeous. Like, I think we have proper 4 seasons. It's rarely very harsh. I think even the winter is so beautiful here. But in the Netherlands, I felt like the weather was very similar to the UK. So it changes every minute. Like, in the day I went, it started off really sunny and then within a few minutes it started hailstone and like snowing. And then I went inside a cafe because I was like, I need to protect myself. And just as soon as I entered the cafe and ordered something, it became so sunny and looked so warm outside and like 14 degrees. So it was really confusing weather and you never know what to dress for. But that's one of the downsides to such a gorgeous place. But let me start from the beginning. So I went solo traveling to Amsterdam and I did not go directly to the airport in Amsterdam because these flights were quite expensive for me. They were more than 100 euros each way. And since I'm a poor student, I have to find a very budget airline. So I just used Ryanair and I went to Eindhoven, which is 2 hours from Amsterdam. So the tickets here were about 30 euros and normally it can also go up to 15 euros, but I booked a bit more last minute compared to what I normally do, so it was more expensive. And from here, the transport is still getting more expensive because it's about 5 euros from Eindhoven airport to the center, and then from the center to Amsterdam Central is another 23 euros. But still, overall, it cost me cheaper than going to the Amsterdam airport, so I chose this route instead. And the transport, of course, in like Western Europe is so smooth. Like, you don't feel the journey. It's super relaxing. Everything is convenient and people help you all the time. They speak English. So I think the transport is not at all hectic or tiring. It was super easy. Of course, it takes some time. So I left my house at around like 5 in the morning or 4 because I had a very early morning flight and I only reached Amsterdam by 12, so it was quite a few hours of journey, but I thought it was very pleasant and I reached in great time because I was ready to like leave my bags at the hostel and go out for a walk and explore already. Regarding the hostel, I have to say it was such a cool hostel. It was called Klink Noord. It was not so cheap, I would say, but of course Amsterdam in general is quite expensive. So the hostel basically per night it was about 23 euros, and on the last night I made a second booking kind of unplanned accidentally, but at that second booking I booked for a nicer room which was about 6 people instead of 10. And in this room it was costing about 40 euros per night, but I loved it because in this 6 people room there was actually 0 people and I was the only one there. So I had my own private bathroom, and the last night of the trip it was really worth it because I just wanted to have that fresh shower and just, have the place to myself. And I really enjoyed the last night there even though it was more expensive. Overall, I think it was a great place to stay. They do have a lot of activities every day of the week. I did find it a bit harder to socialize in this place. It felt like people already had a bit of groups and cliques, so I did not see many solo travelers. I'm sure they would have accepted me in if I joined a group, but I just did not have the energy after a whole day of traveling, and I came back to the hostel only by 9, 10, 11 sometimes, so I did not have the energy to socialize after. So it's a great place if you want to meet people, but I did not have the energy. although I met great people when I was out and about in the city. So I did not find many solo travelers, but I really felt like people who were also in pairs or groups were super welcoming, and it was very easy to get along. So on my first day itself, I always love to start my solo travel with a walking tour, and they have many free walking tours where you just pay a tip of about 10 euro or 5, and you can go for this walking tour of 2 hours. And this is actually the best place for me to get a feeling of the city, to learn about a bit about the history, and to already meet my first friends that makes me feel comfortable in a place. So when I was in this walking tour, I actually had very low expectations because it was full of people who had someone. Like there was no one who was by themselves there actually. Everyone had a companion or a family or a group. So I was kind of having low hopes from meeting people at this walking tour. But as the time went on, it got really fun, and the tour guide gave us some great tips about what you should do in Amsterdam, and explained a lot about the culture and about the how the city is basically built on water. It was really cool. And here I met two guys who were Spanish but living in Manchester or Liverpool, yeah. And they were really fun to talk to. They just started conversating with me, and we were just talking about what we're doing in Amsterdam, and we just had really lots of jokes together. And by the end of the trip, they invited me to try the, I'm gonna butcher it, Guinevere? Guinevere, I think so. It's alcoholic drink basically that kind of, there's a new and an old version. So the older version tastes a bit like whiskey, while the newer version tastes more like gin and vodka. In between, it's transparent and very strong. And this is a very classical thing to do in Amsterdam. So they fill it to the brim, like a very small glass, a bit bigger than a shot glass, I would say. And they fill it to the brim, and you have to like sip it with your mouth because you can't lift the glass or it's gonna spill. And you normally drink it with a beer on the side because of course you can't chug this, you got to like take it slow. And so I hate, of course, I would never drink alone, and I'm glad these guys invited me, so I was happy to go for this drink with them. And we went to a super old looking bar that was recommended by a tour guide, and I can't remember the name, but if I find it, I will try to write it down here below. And it was really gorgeous inside, and the best thing was the waiters there, who were even so young, were so passionate about the alcohol. Like they knew the history, they were explaining it to us, they gave us a tasting of a few types, and it was really fun to watch this, the way he explained a lot, and it was so passionate. And so we tried our Univer, and it was really nice. I think it's a one-time try. For me, it's too strong, but I'm glad I did it. And my first day, I was really tired because it started at like around 3 a.m. or 4. So I headed back earlier. I live on the other side of this canal in between, so you kind of have to take a ferry every time you go back and forth. There's no walking way to do it, but the ferry is free and it takes 5 minutes, and literally there's ferries every time. It's never that there isn't a ferry available. So, and it goes I think on 24 hours if I'm not wrong. It was the F3, and the F3 is like 24 hours, so that's great about the city. You can never really be stuck on one side. I like that. But I headed back early to the hostel, and I passed out because I was so tired. And basically the next 2 days was the part where I paid for an Amsterdam card. It's like this Go City card. And basically you pay 70 euros. I think it's more expensive. I remember they had not only like a 50% sale, but also an extra discount code, which is like another 10%. So I paid 70 euros total for 2 days, and you can see loads of stuff. And I was anyway planning to pay for some of these attractions, and I felt that it would really be covered a lot just by this card. So in this card, I could go to Keukenhof, which is the tulip garden, and I was really planning to do this. And it cost already about like 36 euros. And then I plan to see 1 or 2 museums, which cost 20 euros each. So within the first 3 attractions, you cover the whole amount that you bought this card for, which I loved. And as a solo traveler, the best thing is you can do things pretty fast because you're doing it at your pace, and you can plan your day with, you know, just like the quickest routes and things like this. I think this might be a bit harder with a group because, of course, with a group it takes a bit longer to walk each way, to decide on who wants to, stop at some point or eat food at some point. So I guess that gets a little bit difficult. But for me, it was super planned out because I wanted to see all the attractions and I knew I had a limited amount of time. So I started off my morning with Keukenhof. It was a 8 a.m. bus that takes you there, and the bus is about an hour long. But when I went there, you were one of the first people, so it was relatively empty, I would say, and you could take pictures easily with no one in the background, which was very nice, of course. And the garden itself is so beautiful and peaceful, and since it's empty, it also just feels like your place. It was really gorgeous there, and like water flowing through it. I really love this place. Although there wasn't much tulips in bloom in the outdoors, it was still a great place to just walk by, and there were loads of hyacinths and there was daffodils. So they did have some flowers, but if you really wanted to see a good amount, you would have to go, of course, in April is the best time, probably even May, if you want to make your money's worth. But I think it was really worth it for me anyway. And they had this indoor section, which is like loads of tulips and they're entirely in bloom. And this was really the most gorgeous part. They had like really unique names for each of the flowers, and they were such unique colors. I think they were also kind of hybrid, so they were like made by the people there by mixing two breeds. But it was so cool to see. I've seen these colors I never saw before, and I did not know how gorgeous tulips were. Like, they were so beautiful. They also had like really cool decorations inside. They had paintings and just everything that makes the atmosphere really beautiful here. I spent about 2 hours. I think 2 hours was more than enough just because it was a bit cold, so I could not really be in the outdoors for too long. And the indoors was warmer, but yeah, you still need a coat. So I would say that maybe when it's warmer months, you can stay much longer. But for me, 2 hours was perfect. I got to see everything I wanted. It was also very cool that you could kind of buy these bulbs from the gift shop and take it back to your country. And they also had like provision for taking it back to the US and Canada because they packed it specially for these long trips. And also what I understood is that to US and Canada, you're not allowed to take many things, like the security is much stricter. So this packaging is made uniquely that it is allowed to take it in the airports. So it was really cool to see how many people were buying these buds and wanting to take it back to their country. Like, I wish I could do it, just that I was not so sure how I can carry this because I didn't want to like ruin it. And also I don't know if I have a garden to do such a thing, but it was really cool to see this. And I finished this around 11 o'clock and I took the 1 hour bus back to, this is Holland, which is where we started. And what's interesting is, yeah, this bus is basically every half an hour, so you can really leave at your leisure, and it's every half an hour from 11 to I think around 6 to 7 p.m. So you really have constant buses and you can really do your day as per your plan. And once I got back, I went to This is Holland, which was actually a 5D experience. So you get to have an in-flight experience or like a simulation where they show you all over Holland. It was really beautiful because, of course, this was filmed with a helicopter and it was like having this aerial view of all the cities. It explained a bit of the history and how these dams were made and the architecture. It was just very, very cool to say the least. It was a short experience. It was maybe around 45 minutes, I would say. For the price, I would not really pay for it. I think it was around it was 26 euros. And I think it's not worth the price in my opinion. But with my card, with the Amsterdam card, I was really happy to do it because it was really gorgeous to see. And this was the 1 hour, 45 minutes, 1 hour experience. After this, I headed to the Rijksmuseum. This I heard so much about, but the very unlucky thing was that I really want to see Vermeer because I love Vermeer and I love The Girl with the Pearl Earring. I read the book about it and I just really want to see this. And this is normally, as far as I know, in the Rijksmuseum and it's in the normal exhibition. But for some reason, they had like a 6-month long separate Vermeer exhibition with all of his paintings. And The thing is, you could not buy tickets to this because this exhibition was booked out a year in advance. So there's no way you can buy this. And that's what I felt in Amsterdam, that many things are booked out months in advance. And if you make a spontaneous trip, it's really hard to go to these places. It's kind of unlucky, but yeah, even the Anne Frank Museum was a similar thing. It was booked out at least 3 months in advance. So it's quite unfortunate. Yeah, I missed out on those. But I mean, there's still, of course, loads to do and see there. So it's not a big loss. I also think Van Gogh was booked out, but just a few weeks. So I did not book that. But I did book Rick's Museum, the timing, previously, like a week in advance. And this museum was gorgeous. There was still a lot to see. Especially, I love the Night Watch by Rembrandt. I really love how large scale this painting was. And later on in Delft, when I went there, I saw a porcelain version of this painting made out of 480 tiles. And that is insane. I really love to see this. I also only heard of Rembrandt for the first time in Amsterdam. And exactly after the Rijksmuseum experience, I went to the Rembrandt experience, which was kind of a telling of his life and how he came into painting. And I can't remember, but I think he's from Delft, because I know Vermeer is from Delft, right? But Rembrandts, I can't remember. But it was a bit about his story, about his paintings, and it was quite a cool experience. They had beautiful visuals. I can't remember how much this costed. I think it was around 16 euros. I could say it's worth it, but yeah, I still probably wouldn't pay for it if I didn't have the Go City card. It was a half an hour experience, quite cool, definitely. And yeah, they have it in various languages, and it's every 10 minutes the next show. So it's pretty convenient to do, it's very fast. Yeah, and after this I headed to the Heineken Museum this was around 5 o'clock, I would say, in the evening. This is the last show as far as I know in Heineken, like, because they close at 7. So I went there, and this was quite interesting. So you first go there and they explain to you about how their beer is made, what kind of ingredients they use, and you get to like see and smell all of the ingredients. I think it was hops that they showed us, and it smelled horrible, like smelly feet or dirty socks or something like this. But it was very nice to see how they make their beer. You also get to customize your own bottle of beer, and you get, of course, tastings of the beer. And with my tickets, I also got 2 free beers, which you can have at the end. And of course, I always hate drinking alone. So when I went to the end to get my beer, I was like, I really want to join some people, but I didn't see anyone who was like alone or solo over there. Like, they all had somebody. So I was like, who should I join here? But luckily I spotted this couple who looked like they were very chill and not overly romantic. And I rarely like to go to couples because I feel like I'm ruining their special moments, by being there. But this couple looked super chill, so I went and I joined them, and I saw that she had this bag from Tony's Chocolonely place, and I really wanted to see that. So I went and spoke up to this girl, and I asked her if she went for this. Was it like an experience, or did they have like some kind of like storytelling about the chocolate and how it's made, or was it just a shop where you buy it? And then she was explaining to me that she also has the Go City card, and how she went to this experience and what she liked there. And you get a free chocolate bar with your Go City card over there. You can pick any of it. I have mine right here, although it's half open, half eaten, but that's the one. This is so delicious. It is, I think, with pecan, almonds, caramel, and pretzel. It's really nice one. But you can pick anything you like. With the Go City card, you get a bar free. And then we got talking with this girl, and her boyfriend was there too, and she was saying that she's from Romania, and I went there previously, like a few weeks ago, so we were discussing about our experiences, and it was so nice to meet them. Like, we had a really cool conversation. And I thought they would want to like do their own thing afterwards. I did not know like if I want to like impose myself on them, but they were nice enough to invite me with them, and they said, let's do something together, let's like go to the next experience together. And I was quite pleasantly surprised because I love company. And it was so funny because this place is so tiny because on the way out, as I was leaving Heineken, I met the two Spanish guys who I met the previous day just on the road. And I was like, what a small world. Like, I guess the touristic spots are pretty nearby and I saw them, but it was quite nice to see them again. And then we headed out to the Adam Tower. So this also is about 16 euros. But I got it, of course, with my Go City card. You can go to the very top and it's just the entrance is 16. Of course, you can add on to it like around 6 euros for 2 drinks, around 8 euros, I guess, if you want to go on this swing they have, which is literally on the top floor. I don't know how many floors this building was, but if I had to guess, I would say 30 to 50. I know it's one of the tallest buildings that has this swing experience from the rooftop because it's not, of course, common. And this looked so scary. I was already a bit tipsy and I could not imagine doing this swing. But basically, you're off the edge of the building and swinging outside it. And there's not even a proper like seatbelt safety, in my opinion. Like they had something that goes like in between your legs, I guess, and you can hold it, but it did not feel very safe. I was really nervous to see this, but people were very brave. They were doing this and it was quite cool to watch. The bar itself was okay. We didn't really get a drink. There was nothing too special about the bar. They had a bit of a cinema where they showed you what the idea for this building was and just about the creators, and it was interesting. After this, I kind of headed back to my place for a bit because it's very nearby from the Adam Tower. And after I was refreshed, I wanted to try Febo. Febo is this very interesting restaurant kind of thing, I guess, where they have a vending machine for hot food. So like you can get croquettes, burgers, and things like this in mini vending machines. And you just like pay with your card or whatever, and you can just get out a croquette. It was very interesting to say the least. I was so shocked by seeing this. And you can get many kind of croquettes. I think you can get like, the most famous is with the ragu beef inside. I got the one with chicken, so it was like some peppery chicken and mashed potato kind of thing inside, and you can get vegetarian. So it was such a cool experience. I really liked trying this out and it was delicious. Like, I wouldn't say it's cheap for a vending machine. It was like 3 euros or something for a croquette, but it was totally a fun thing to try and delicious for sure. This was the end of my day, and the next day, which was basically my third day in Amsterdam, I had booked a trip, basically a 10-hour road trip that goes to Hague, Delft, and Rotterdam. And this also was part of the Go City card. I think you can book like one of the big outside city trips, I guess so, and you have to book in advance as well, like email in advance that you want a reservation for one of them. So I think this was one option. The other option was to go to Saint-Chans, the windmill city, and the third option was some other place. I can't remember, but I chose this one because you can see 3 cities at the same time, and yeah, it just looked interesting, and I wanted to see Rotterdam because I heard quite a bit about it, so I just tried out, and it was really good. I would say that these 10-hour or 12-hour day trips are very tiring for me personally. Like, I do enjoy going there, but by the end of the day, I'm too tired, and I don't know if it's a very good idea. So I'm really considering what is a good way for me to do a day trip like this, because it's not easy thing to do. It really is a lot of like bus rides, and each place you have a short time. You have to be on time back in the bus. You're always a bit stressed. And yeah, I don't know, it was for me a mixed experience. So first we stopped at Hague, and I did not like it so much here, but maybe because it was very cold, and also because the tour guide basically just left us in every city by ourselves. Like, I'm used to tour guides where they at least show you like first like 5-6 spots and give you a history, and then they leave you for a bit, but she just dropped us in Hague and left us, and I was like, where should I go from here? Like, I don't know anything. I didn't make a map or plan of what I should see, but I just took like a circle around with one of the girls I met there, and we just came back a bit early for the bus, and we got like a cake on the cafe outside the bus so we won't miss it. And yeah, that was basically in Hague. We had like half an hour. I did not think it was too interesting, to be honest. We did stop by the beach for a bit, where you can see a really cool statue of a Dutch man eating this, how do you call it? It's this fish, herring. Yeah, eating this herring, and that was something a typical Dutch guy does, I guess so. And I did try this herring like burger. It came with pickles and onion. It costed about 5.60. I got it from a random like stall, really nothing special, but it was I don't know what I could say about it. So it was pretty nice. It was interesting. I did not hate it at all. I think it's a one-time thing for me. Like the first few bites are delicious, but after a while it gets too fishy for me. And towards the end, I'm like feeling a bit grossed out, I guess. But I did find it really cool, to be honest. Like it's something very unique to this place, and I think a one-time try for sure. Like you have to know what it is, you know. So I liked it actually. I would give it a rating of 3 out of 5. I hope that's good. And then we went to Delft for a bit. Delft was actually gorgeous. It had a main like a center square, and this is where I bought this like 10 euro ticket. It was a student price ticket to go to this new church. And on the new church, you have to climb this tower, which is like a very narrow staircase. It can be claustrophobic, I would say, and the walk is quite a bit. Like I would say it took me a total of half an hour, like going up and coming down. And it can be like a bit dizzying, but the view is spectacular. I cannot tell like how far up it is. I can't really give an estimate, but I can put a video of like what the view looked like. You could see everything from there. It was gorgeous. Like this was one of the best views actually I had in Netherlands. Like there was nothing else comparing to it. It was like spectacular, and I don't have a fear of heights, but I was almost a bit nervous because there's no grills or anything. You just stand there and there's like one bar to hold on to, and I was like terrified if I like drop my phone from here, drop myself from here. But it was a very cool view. It was very breathtaking, I would say. Like I really enjoyed this. Yeah, it's quite nice for sure. And the church interiors were also gorgeous. It was beautiful inside. After this, we just walked by through the small streets. They were super cute. Like you can see like colorful buildings and lots of like tulips, flowers around. I really love this place. This was actually a must see. I did not even think of Delft, or even actually not even the city's name before I went there. I think so, except for that it's from Vermeer's like life, but I had no idea it was this gorgeous, and it was really beautiful. Also in this new church, I think is where Vermeer's body is buried. I did not find it. I was actually looking for it in the gravestones, but I couldn't find his name. But also I think all the royalties are also buried in this church. It was very interesting. A lot of them from the Orange family. So it was interesting to see. Yeah, and after Delft, we headed to this porcelain factory, kind of. It was also in Delft, like quite near the university there. And this factory was interesting. I did not know a lot about porcelain before. I thought it was more like a China thing, but apparently they were explaining a bit about the history, how there was like kind of collapse in Chinese manufacturing it for a while. I can't remember why, maybe a war. And that's when the Dutch took it up, but they don't make it out of like porcelain. They make it out of like, I think, cement, and it's more like sturdy, not as delicate, I guess so. But the artwork was beautiful, and like you can get it like really handmade. And there was also a person, like a lady sitting there, who was like personally drawing and like painting on top of the pottery thing. But it was very cool, I have to say. I really like to see this museum, and it's such a important part of Dutch culture as well. I did not know much about, so I really love to see this. I also ate a bit of lunch here because I was super hungry, and they had a sandwich made from goat cheese, and I thought it's like normal cheese, but it was really delicious. I never had goat cheese before, I think so, because I was very pleasantly surprised, and it was something very new. After this, we headed to Rotterdam, and here we saw the cube houses. I I thought this was really very, very cool. I saw this in picture, like in books before, but never like, of course, in real. And this house was so interesting. They were kind of like house on stilts, I think so. And they had around, can't remember, I think around 20 cube houses like this. And what's interesting that people don't really live there for more than 2 years, apparently. Like you can't rent this place, you have to buy it. But every 2 years, people like try to sell it back because they cannot have a normal life or good quality of life in this kind of place. It's nice and hipster and cool for a few, like short period of time, but after 2 years, you can't really like think of retiring or being here long term, I guess. So they like move out, and it's just very interesting. And you can actually look into one of these houses if you pay like €3. You get to go inside and get a view of the place. Also, after this, I went to a cafe where you can eat poffertjes. I'm saying it all wrong, but it's like these pancakes that are Dutch, and it was really nice. I really liked it, but it was like overdosed with powdered sugar and a big clump of butter. So I was thinking, is this the normal way to eat it? Because it was just too sweet and too buttery for me, but I guess it's the way the Dutch do it. But it was delicious, and there was also a lot of drama at this cafe because there was a weird fight going on, and they were like, I think it was some kind of child was on a bicycle and who was disrespectful to the people around this cafe, and then the waiter got super mad and he was like fighting with him, and then there were like two policemen who came in who were fighting, and I was just enjoying the drama, eating my pancakes. So it was a good experience. And then we headed back to Amsterdam. This took quite a while because there's quite a lot of traffic in the evening, so it took about, I would say, an hour and a half. And the unlucky part is that I just reached shortly after 6:30 to this place, and I was hoping to reach earlier because if I did, I could have gone to see the tour of Bonton, which I really was enthusiastic about because it's kind of about the red light district and about the prostitution, I guess, a bit like a historical museum of how this street started, what is the history, what kind of people live there, and what are their experiences. And I really wanted to know this, but the last tour was at 6:30, so I really missed this by just, I think, like 15 minutes, and I was kind of upset about this, but it's okay. I hope I get to see it another time. Instead, I just went to see the red light district. I did go a bit earlier first, so around 7 p.m. I would say, which is too early to go here because it's still a bit daylight and there's nobody out there, and it's just a street with a lot of red colors, I guess so, and you don't see anything. So I then went and took a shopping break at Primark for a bit, and then I headed back again to the red light district around 9 p.m. and this is where it was a lot more interesting. Of course, there were girls on every window and they were so gorgeous, but I was also like really shocked by the view because it was just very interesting. I never saw this before in my life and I did not know how to feel about it. Like, it was a unique experience to say the least, and the girls were just so confident and so bold, and I really like just that people are quite respectful, I would say, in the street. Like, nobody is like luring or like, just, I don't know, it was mostly tourists, I would say, so I don't see that people were really going inside but probably they were, I don't know. It was just an interesting street to see. It was a lot of things happening. And after this, I was on my way home. I did stop by Tony's Chocolonely and did get my free bar, as you saw. And on my way home, I was just, like, I thought I could not do anything else with the card because I did most of the things. But actually on my way home, I was so lucky that I was walking by these like docks where the boats are, and then this lady was like screaming like, hey, 5 minutes to the last cruise of the day, and last 5 minutes to get inside the cruise. And then I went to her and I was like, do you take Go City card? And she was like, yes, of course we do. And I just got so lucky. I got to go on this night cruise unintentionally, and it was the most gorgeous cruise I had. Of course, I don't think a night cruise is good for photography, but what it's great for is just having a peaceful cruise by the nighttime. And the lights are beautiful. The city is quiet, especially if you don't know, in Amsterdam, people rarely like close their curtains. They leave their windows open. In fact, the hostel I lived in didn't even have curtains because apparently I think it shows transparency of the Dutch, and they like to be very open and showing that they have nothing to hide or something like this. And that's why you see all these buildings that have beautiful lights and windows that are open, and it's just this classical look of the Netherlands. And it was really gorgeous to see this kind of I guess houses and street lights in the nighttime, especially in the water. It was so beautiful. I love this the most. There was a bit of like audio inside, so they give you a bit of history about the houses we go by. Some of the houses were by the prime minister, I think so, and some of them were dating back to a very long time, and they explained a bit about what we're seeing around us. I really love the night cruise. I think this is a must experience. It's also quite a romantic experience, I would say. So doing it solo was also very interesting. I didn't mind it, but I think it's a lot more of a romantic experience. But the next day in the morning, I went to a daytime cruise. This was actually part of my package with the Koekenhof tour. You can also get like a 75-minute cruise, and the good thing was you can do the cruise in any time the whole week. So even though my Go City card kind of expired on the last day because I only had it for 2, I could still go on the cruise on the 3rd day or for the whole week if I wanted, but I was of course leaving. So on the 3rd day I went for my cruise, which was 75 minutes, and this was very nice for photos because it was a beautiful sunny day. You could sit outside, and there's like a bit of outer area where it's not too chilly, but you get great photos and a great view. And this cruise, the sailor, who was also talking to us. It was not just audio in the cruise, but also he would give us like personal information and make jokes and things like that. So this was a very fun cruise to do, very informative, and I saw a different part than what I saw in the night cruise. The night cruise was more within the inner city, while the daytime cruise went a bit more to the outer area, and they also kind of showed you the part of the sea where the other side is the UK. So it was kind of like very exterior, I don't know. But it was very nice to see. I really loved it. This was the last part of my tour, I think. So because after this is when I headed towards the airport already. But one very important part I forgot to tell you was Chun Cafe. This cafe is so famous on TikTok. If you don't know about it, I will put the video over here. But this cafe is so well known on TikTok, and is a cafe you will wait for a line, like up to 40 minutes to get just a sandwich from here. It's a Korean-based cafe. They have this few seating, so maybe around inside, I guess. And they have delicious sandwiches. I got the one with the ribeye steak, and they had like on top like some boiled egg, and it was delicious. The bread was so soft. But you can also get garlic shrimp. There was a normal egg ham cheese sandwich, I guess so they had various varieties, and it was so good. I don't know if it's worth the line, because I was in line at 10 a.m. because I came here the first day actually, and on the first day there was no way I could be in this line because the line ends at some point and there are other shops, so you can't like disrupt them. So if the line is longer than where it ends, you have to leave and come back later. And at lunchtime it's impossible, like forget about it. But on the last day, since I had time in the morning till my cruise, I thought I would go and stand in this line for a bit. And I went at like 10:15, and I was luckily the last person on this line, because behind me the line ends basically at 10:15 in the morning. And there was a security as well who was basically waiting there and like monitoring the people and helping you to get in. And she was such a jolly person. She was so fun, and she made the line waiting even more nicer and had like personal conversations with each one of us. And when you're the like last person to enter, like when you're the closest person to enter the cafe, she would be like, voila, it's your turn, you're the lucky one, and she would like hype you up, which was so funny. And I finally got in there after 40 minutes inside, and I ordered my sandwich. I could sit inside and eat there. It was delicious. Not totally worth the line, but I definitely think if you have the time, why not? Like, I had the time, I was not doing anything else anyway, so it was good for me. And after this, I headed to also Wandel Park for a bit. This was gorgeous. It was lucky that it was a sunny day, so I could, but it was definitely to see. It was beautiful. It's nice to rest here and enjoy the last bits of your trip and reflect. I loved it so much. Overall, I think this trip was just fantastic. I think the city card was a big reason that I really felt like it was like Disneyland, because I could go from one thing to the other. I didn't have to think about the cost or whether it's worth it because I already paid for it. And I think also just, yeah, just the people I met, everything made this so gorgeous, and I really recommend the city. And I have to say, you have to go with any kind of car. This really helps for me personally to enjoy the place in a fuller way and do loads of things. I definitely recommend this place. It's so cool. The food is amazing. The people are cool. And I think you never get bored. There's just too much to do. I would say for me, 4 days was a perfect amount of time. I wouldn't have wanted to stay longer really, because it was a very adventure packed short time and it was perfect. I went on the weekdays, and I think it was a good idea because the weekends would be much more packed than the weekdays were, and the weekdays are already super like long lines and busy. So I really recommend to go on the weekdays, to be honest. Let me just see my notes real quick if I forgot anything, because I did make a few notes. And yeah, I think I really covered everything that I wanted to talk about. Maybe I also wanted to say about the pictures you get about solo traveling are just fantastic. Like, every time I solo travel, you would think you would have very poor quality photos, because who would take a photo of you? And when you go with a friend, it's much easier because you ask them for your pictures, I guess. But I really felt like on solo travel, I get the best photos because everybody's a tourist. They all want to help you get your angles right. They all also know what angles are, especially if you ask girls, and most girls are very photogenic these days. They really even like guide you. Like, I was on tours and travels where people actually tell me, put your leg forward, move your hips back, and they get the best angle photos of me. So I have to say, solo traveling is totally a great way to go. Like, I totally enjoy it, and I get the best photos on solo travels more than I have with certain friends. But I think it's such an easy way to just get around Europe, to get, if you want to do it, just do it. I think it's totally worth like seeing it, and I don't want to personally miss out on not going to some places just because I had no one to go with. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm so near this place and I don't know if I will, how long I would be in Europe, I really want to make the most of it and see all the places that I desire. But I totally recommend, go to Amsterdam. You will not regret it. It's amazing. And thank you for watching so far, if you made it here. And leave in the comments if you have any questions, any more tips I can give you, because I would love to. And please like and subscribe. See you.